I just want to say they used flawless victory to perfection in this movie.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And get over here. And welcome to the Superhero Slate review of 2021's Mortal Kombat.
Oh, I should have said my name's not Mike Royer anymore. It's Scorpion for
Yeah.
no particular reason whatsoever.
Yeah, Mike Scorpion Royer is what you should have gone with. I mean, there's tons of stuff. We are I would like to think, going as we've talked in length, we are the Mortal Kombat generation, if you will. And this movie came out on HBO Max in theaters, which is great. I think it's been that was a blessing in disguise, really, in the middle of I guess the end of April here, right? So.
Yeah, I think maybe just to generalize, the whole HBO Max deal has been a bit of a blessing in disguise, right? It seems like things are really cranking up right now over at that streaming service, and it seems like, every couple weeks we get this brand new blockbuster movie that we just get to watch from the comfort of our own homes. Mm-hmm. And I keep thinking was this short-sighted for HBO Max? Because I'm about to get my second vaccine in about a week or two, so give it a couple more weeks after that and I'll be able to go back to the movie theaters. And, the whole HBO Max thing, it seems like it'll be a wasted maneuver to commit to an entire year. But at the same time, not everybody's in my shoes. So, I think taking advantage of it now is like we can.
Yeah, well, I think it's the same thing we've talked about with the Black Widow thing. I'm actually paying for 2 HBO Max subscriptions because I'm an idiot. And I'm paying for regular, and then I upgraded my phone plan, and it comes with my phone plan. So I'm like, I'm going to have to cancel one. It's only been 1 month of that, so I'm like, it's fine. But I think it's great.
Don't blame yourself too much because that stuff is so confusing. My wife was telling me the other day, oh yeah, we get a month of Peacock for free with State Farm insurance, and I'm just like, what? This is so weird. It's you just can't keep track of it. There's some sort of broader umbrella corporation out there that will just get you into a streaming service, but you just have to do the work, which is really annoying.
Yeah. So now there's middlemen to get you on streaming services. So, well, I think it's one of those things. Like I said, it's like the Black Widow situation. There will be movies that we want to see in theaters. I will want to see Dune in theater, right? Dune's on this list of movies to come to HBO Max. But I will also. That's going to be a long-ass movie full of stuff I'm not going to quite understand, even though I've read the books before. So I'm going to want to rewatch it, and guess what? I'm going to have that luxury to do so at home with my streaming subscription. So I think looking at you can be safe, but you can also have essentially a Hannah Montana situation here, Mike. The best of both worlds.
I was like, where's
Hannah
this
Montana
going?
and Miley Cyrus?
Hannah Montana. Yeah. I think you said it right at the top here, where you said we are the Mortal Kombat generation, to the point where even if you don't play the games or know the characters, you are familiar with the franchise and you understand just what the general tone of it is supposed to be. So when I was watching this film, after the first couple characters, I was like, okay, I don't know who this person is anymore. Who's this person with the wings? That looks like maybe a newer character. I played a couple minutes of one of the newer Mortal Kombat games, so I kind of dipped my toe back into it. But my knowledge is just very surface. Once you go past Sub-Zero and Scorpion, I'm just kind of what's this dude's name again? I know the hat throwing, that is familiar. I think I remember, but I don't remember who that guy is. So that's what I was doing for most of this movie.
Well, it's funny because again, I played Mortal Kombat 11 recently. I picked it up. I played Mortal Kombat 10 before that, and I'm like, oh, there's 11 games, but there's a lot more than 11 Mortal Kombat games. I don't know why they started numbering them, but I remember there were a bunch of spin-offs involving Sub-Zero in there, and then actually Kung Lao and Liu Kang have a spin-off, Shaolin Monks as well. So these characters they're ingrained us. Even if you didn't play them, you may have heard people up in arms over the blood and gore of these fighting games in the 90s. The quote unquote popularity of the original movies in the 90s. Something that I just put myself through recently to get to here. But yeah, someone has come in and made a great Mortal Kombat, and the basis of the game is you fight in a tournament, and the winner of the tournament kind of gets their wish or whatever. And the movies have used Earth Realm versus Outer Realm to get there. So I'm just gonna kind of jump into this review, Mike, because I don't. I feel there's spoilers here. I can't talk about it unspoilery, but it's also Mortal Kombat, so I don't know what people are expecting.
we have the luxury of this being something that you can stream. There's a chance that you can go watch this very easily. So yeah, let's just throw the spoiler warning up and just jump into it.
Yes, there is no goddamn tournament in this movie, and that's like the most disappointing thing. I'm like, I can't wait for them to fight their way through each other to get to this actual tournament. And the whole point of this is, and this is actually very similar to the other movies from the 90s, is the guy Shang Tsung, he doesn't want to play by the rules anymore. So guess what? He's just going to break the rules and win automatically. And so he's going to kill all the fighters before they actually get to a tournament. So I'm like, this is like the most disappointing fact of this movie. It's like, there is no tournament, folks. I really wanted that.
Yeah, just in general, to me, this movie really reeks of people hoping for sequels and a franchise out of this. I saw a headline where one of the actors was signed on to 4 more movies if they decided to make more.
4 more years. 4 more.
So
it was
it's just like
Sub-Zero.
Yeah, so it's like you can just like tell that this like, we're going to build up to the tournament. It's going to be maybe in the 3rd movie or the 4th movie. We're going to build the roster. Yeah. We're going to get it going. We're going to gloss over a lot of the stuff that would make this movie make a lot more sense, like who these gods are supposed to be. They talked about these other realms, and we never got to see any of the other ones. We just see this outer realm, which is supposed to be the most brutal.
Half this movie's in a desert. Am I crazy that they just kind of went to the same desert and just pivoted 4 corners? Like, okay, here's where Raiden's thing is. Okay, Outer World's over on this side when the sun's a little lower, and I don't know where everything was.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird. Like, in this type of movie, locations are kind of important because really the last act, or maybe not even last act, but kind of like the last set piece of this film is basically different Mortal Kombat fights, right? Because just like how if you boot up the game, you select your level, we got a bunch of different levels that we got to look at. Some a lot more interesting than the others. Like, I don't care about Sonya Blade's trailer, so that's not exactly a very interesting backdrop.
Well, that was my favorite level from all the old games. And
so it's like you can see what the filmmakers are trying to do here at the very end. Like, we're going to give the game fans what they really want. Like, we're going to give them the video game at the very end. And it's just like, we really just, like you said, wanted the tournament. You just spouted the word tournament about 1 billion times in this movie, and we don't end up getting it. But, at least they kind of facilitated some one-on-ones towards their at the very end. But like, what a strange disconnect from the last battle and the battle that happened literally just before it at that temple. Yeah. Like, they were just like, we just got defeated. And then, okay, here, let's rally together. Let's make a plan. Let's just go do literally what we just did. Nothing has changed except now I found my quote unquote superpower. Now let's go and get them. And it's just like, what changed in between this fight set piece and the other fight set piece? You got some powers. Is that really enough to push you guys across the threshold into winning?
Well,
usually when you go back out for the final fight, usually it's because you found some sort of MacGuffin or you've uncovered some sort of secret that gives you the edge. And it's just like, no, this is really just kind of like round 2, which I guess kind of makes sense in like a video game kind of subplot,
Well, thankfully there are the people who lived are people who are staples of the games, and the people who died are people even I had to Google because I'm like, who the hell is General Rico? And apparently he's only been in 2 games, Mortal Kombat 4 and Mortal Kombat Armageddon. So
is that the guy with the hammer?
Yeah, pretty much the hammer.
Okay.
So we saw a statue, like literally these backdrops were backdrops from the game, right? Like, there's the classic bridge fight where Jax fought Rico on, like, right? Like, that's the 2D, of course, it's one bridge. Then you have, like, the Shao Kahn level. I believe that's where Cole and Liu Kang fought Cabal and Melina. I want to say Katana, but Katana wasn't. Like, this, I read this interview from the director after. He said, like, the first movie is the pre-tournament. The second movie is the tournament. And the third movie is the post-tournament. And I'm like, we just want the tournament, man. Like, just give give us the tournament. This would have been way more fun. I feel like I'm coming down this movie. It's not a great movie. It's not the worst movie of Mortal Kombat movie I've seen by far. I believe the R rating helped this a little bit be more entertaining, at least, because there are fatalities in this, right? Very much. It ramps up at the end more than later, but also, they play around with the lore a little bit here. I'm not gonna lie with you guys. I mean, the main character Cole is essentially a descendant of the original Scorpion, so he's Scorpion.
Yeah. So when Cole, since you're a little bit more familiar with Mortal Kombat than I am, Cole the character, obviously he's a new character, but when he uncovers his mutant latent ability, if you will, is that connected to a character, or is this idea of a character with? So it's like, why did he get batons? That just made no sense. I was just like, I would get it if maybe he was like a police officer or some sort of law enforcement person.
If he was an MMA fighter that used that kind of like, he was just a meat bag for most of the movie.
you would expect maybe some sort of like, metal fists or something. So I was like, why is he getting batons? I don't really understand that. I mean, you've laid down your opinion of the movie. This is just basically like a lackluster blockbuster film to me.
Yeah. A great streaming movie, right? Like, we didn't have to go pay for it.
This would be absolutely incredibly forgettable if it wasn't attached to IP, right? Like if this was just like a brand new property just called like a interdimensional fighting, everyone would just forget about this film. No, it would never get a second film. It would not even attempt to set up a franchise. But since it's based on an IP, people are excited for it. The acting's bad. The writing is bad. The only thing that's somewhat entertaining is some of the fights and some of the fatalities. The last HBO Max film that we talked about was Godzilla vs. Kong,
yes.
And I think what you said applies to this to me perfectly, where this movie is perfectly cut up into a couple clips on YouTube, right? Like just show me some of the fatalities, maybe show me the last fight with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and that's it. I'm in and out in like maybe 10 minutes. I don't need to sit through this incredibly boring film in between the blood.
You know what they do? They take the original theme song, right, and they put that underneath the clips of all the fights for you.
Yeah,
I wasn't. So it's just one movie.
Yeah, I personally wasn't a big fan of the new theme that they added to it. You get to hear it a lot more in the end credits, and it's just like this weird kind of dubstep remix.
I like it. I'm not like if we're gonna disagree about anything. I think the song actually
that's fine. We can totally absolutely disagree.
Throw
about
down.
That. That's
This is it. We're gonna solve this in Mortal Kombat, Mike.
The moments that were incredibly cheesy, I think everyone will agree on, where the characters literally said fatality, or they were doing these one-liners that would only exist in a video game universe, because just hearing the character say it is like so dumb. Like he's just like, no, my name is Sub-Zero now. No, I'm Scorpion. It's just like, dude, I know you went to hell, but like, why all of a sudden are you called Scorpion now? It just doesn't make any sense. So I think just overall, like this type of franchise needs to be approached by just a very, very creative director, somebody that has like a flair that really fits with this gimmick of almost like goofy. It almost needs to be satirical in a way, because none of this can be taken seriously at all. Like I know Raiden, the character, has glowing eyes, but the glowing eyes just look really cheesy. It kind of looks like an After Effects plugin in this movie, and his lightning doesn't like. I have never seen like a nest of lightning in front of my own eyes, so I suppose some physicist could come up to me and say, "No, this is literally what lightning would look like." But it looked like somebody was doing like old school, like Roger Rabbit, like going frame by frame and like painting in like the lightning. It's just like, this looks so dumb. And like the worst scene was when Cole was basically at his character's lowest point and wants to go back and see his family, right? So he walks through the lightning portal, and it's not even really a portal. It's just like he walks into some like lightning bolts, and then they just kind of like mask him out as he walks by a lightning bolt.
I can forgive that because they do that in the game all the time, but I will not forgive like how forgettable Raiden is. He's supposed to be the person, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, he's in this, isn't he? Like until he's like, oh, his glowing eyes. I'm like, oh yeah, Raiden was in this. Like he's just some sort of like, even this movie. I'm just, since I recently watched the 90s when the original. This movie is like they took that and kind of adapted it into this movie without actually looking at the games, like the game story, because in that movie, like I said, they used flawless victory like 3 times, and like they never once had a flawless victory in that kind of thing. And then, there's the get
flawless
over
victory
here
means
line.
you don't get touched.
Right, exactly. In this movie, they actually use that. He nailed that with a fatality at the end of it too, didn't he? On Natara, but like. The get over here line I think was better used in this one than the original one, because he just yells at somebody there, but like this he's like, oh, he pulls him back. You know, why is this a Sub-Zero dude? Why is he living forever? You know, well, I don't know why would he, why is he 1,000? What is the Outworld? I know what it is. I know what it is. Do you know what the Outworld is, Mike, at this?
I have literally no clue. I can only go by what they tell me in this movie, and they're telling me that there are these other realms, and they're fighting for dominance. But I mean, maybe they said how often.
In an official tournament that we never see.
Yeah,
they don't even allude to it.
Yeah, I know this is the 10th tournament coming up, but how often are there tournaments? Like, what happened like 10 tournaments ago, which would have been the tournament before the Outer Realms started winning? Like, do they just get to control all of the realms once they win, or do they just get to control Earth? Is Earth the main prize, or is it just kind of like, oh, whoever the final 2 are basically like swapping pink slips like 2 people like street racing? Well, like, it's just very confusing, and it's just like yeah, it like I feel weird just being so particular about like a Mortal Kombat movie, but it's just like you got to explain things, right? You can't just say things happen without an explanation, even if it is just like a dumb video game movie. Just if you want to build up lore, do it, like actually do it.
Well, there are dumb video game movies, and then there are video game movies that are not dumb, and like, you know, again, the most recent Tomb Raider, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog, they took, you know, games from that same era, the 90s, and made them into something of their own. And this one, you know, feels like they looked at the old movies and not the games, and were like, oh, let's redo that, and not actually what the actual games are, which the games are, you know, again, multi-million-dollar games. They keep making them. They keep putting out DLC. Friend of the show, Quentin Parker, and I played for hours the other night against each other, and there's just a lot to unpack here. Like, you're right. When are the tournaments? I believe the tournaments are like every, I want to say generational normally, but like, you know, it's one world realm versus another realm. Like, there's not like 3 or 4 people in this tournament. Like, oh, you put your fighters in, fight them up. But like, there's just, it feels like this movie is half really, really stupid and half really fan servicey. And I'm gonna be honest, I have more fun with this than Godzilla versus Kong, I think, but only because I know the characters better. Like, the fan service sold me more on this one than the other one. But I'm not like, oh my god, you gotta see it. But you gotta start with like, do you like Mortal Kombat? Yes, yeah, you'll like this. No, don't watch it.
Yeah, I'm incredibly glad I did not pay a ticket price and take time out of my day to drive to a movie theater and watch this film. I think I would have been even more disappointed. I definitely would not have dragged my wife to see this film. You know, she was just kind of on her phone when we were on the couch checking it out, and I think that was just about as much as she could handle of it. And I don't blame her at all. There's really only 3 good things for me in this film. The scorpion chain, whatever you want to call it, the grappling hook. It was an interesting fighting mechanic. We got to see it, you know, at the beginning and then here at the very end. Kano was interesting. He was the only character that was entertaining at all, just by himself. He was the only person doing really any sort of performance that I found enjoyable. You know, I feel like if the movie was more like him, I would have had more fun, where just be cheesy, just go over the top, just go crazy with it. And then the third thing was some of the fatalities were cool. I think the only fatality I really enjoyed was the hat, the winged creature being cut in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, and then some of the other ones were just like, oh, so the fatality on Goro is like they cut his arm off, okay, well, and then he cuts his stomach, so some of the entrails come out. It just seems weird, like a nitpicking, like, you know, gore, but it's just like, really, that's it? Like, in a Mortal Kombat game, he would have reached in, he would have like pulled the entrails out, and he would have, like, I don't know, whipped it, and blood would have sprayed off of it.
We see all the good Mortal Kombats are the people who can control the elements, right? Like, there wasn't like a Sub-Zero freezing someone's spine out of their body and ripping it out.
We only saw one spine, and it didn't even get ripped out. It was when Sonya Blade shot the hole in the person, and I think it was Sonya Blade.
Yeah, it was. She just got her powers because she defeated someone else who had powers, so now you get powers.
It's like, it's like I don't want to see a spine. I want to see it ripped out. And yeah. Somebody who really loves this movie, and maybe somebody who really has the back of the writer and the director, could just say like, "Oh, just wait till the second one. We're gonna put all this stuff in there." And it's just like, dude, you got to put all of your best stuff at the very beginning, or you're probably not even gonna get the second one. But
I want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and clarify. I don't blame the director for this movie. I think this movie looks like a good Mortal Kombat movie. I think the writer is the one who should be strung up and taken out back. I don't.
Well, Chris, tell me where to point my pitchfork, please.
Please, pitchforks and torches over there. Torches and pitchforks over there. I think the writing is the incoherent part, right? I think actually the actors do pretty good. Like again, they feel like they're video game. I'm not about the comic book characters. They're video game characters. They even again like the first one, they got to use Goro a little bit. Which was kind of fun to see him. I think for a CG character, he was actually fairly reasonable. I think all the budget went to that fight scene and that one alone. But yeah, I think there is an opportunity. Like, it's all about fatalities. It's all about this tournament and fighting 1v1, and then they don't do it until the end because it just happens to be something they need to do. I agree. There are good parts in this. Again, I think some of the I didn't care for the Jax part where maybe he unlocks his what is it? It's not karma. What do they unlock? Arcana. Is his metal arms evolving into newer metal arms? Is that his power? Is that what happened there?
That makes no sense.
There's stuff in there. I'm like, you're just guys are being really, really lenient on some of this stuff. But I would have loved to seen some of that. But I think in terms of again, we're gonna talk more about our news episodes about the rise of fighting scenes in movies coming up in films. I still think it was still they did it pretty good. I enjoyed a lot of the fights there, and especially I think the ending scene, Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Cole. Some of those team up things were pretty cool. They were doing there a little bit.
But it was all right.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it's still of all the things, they showed a lot of that in the trailer. So I'm none of it was new to me. I'm this is, I know where this is going, but there's some stuff, like you said, there's some stuff to be had in here, but you got to be a Mortal Kombat fan or in the know to like this or to really like this movie. 'Cause it's not that good at the end of the day. Thank God it was already on HBO Max that we're already paying for.
Yeah, and I'm not I don't think a good movie couldn't be made out of this, but I think you just got to have a studio that wants to do it, bring somebody in with vision, and I feel like they're just no, let's not worry about that. Let's just throw some special effects, slap it on there, and just get it out there. The fan base is there. We'll make some money. But I sincerely hope that the writers aren't to blame for this, because I was doing some scrolling on IMDb. It's always hard to tell the billing of the writers, who exactly gets the majority of the credit. One of the writers here hasn't really worked on anything else, so this is kind of all they have under their belt right now, so maybe all the blame goes on him. But the other writer attached to this, Dave Callum, is known for Wonder Woman 1984, 2014's Godzilla, the Expendables movies, and the thing that makes me really worried here is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2 and Shang-Chi coming up. So okay. I'm hoping it's the director that's mostly to blame here. Maybe let's just go ahead and say it's a soulless studio executive that went to the editing room and just chopped the hell out of this thing. Some of the editing was kind of weird. There were some cuts back and forth that I was like, wait, what's going on here? So let's just blame it on a producer, and hopefully it doesn't boil over into other things that we actually like.
I just want to know when they paid these people to write it, they hopefully Callum wrote the action scenes, because I think that'd be great. But what do they tell them? Hey, make a Mortal Kombat movie. But what do they tell them to base it off of is what I want to know. Because again, having recently watched the other ones, this is not the worst Mortal Kombat movie in the world. There's a worse one than this. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, you watched Annihilation, which is the second one, right?
Yeah, god damn, I'll never get that time back. Or as a child when I watched it all those times. But this feels literally like the first one, and it didn't really have much of a tournament either. It's just Shang Tsung's trying to, go around the rules and send all these people, kill all the Earth fighters outside of that.
And let me tell you, like, tournaments are amazing narrative devices, right? We've seen tournaments 1,000 times in all of the animes we grew up watching. There's like a tournament every other season in Dragon Ball Z. You know, a tournament is basically just a structure of like a sporting event, and like sports movies are great. You know, it's really easy to keep track of the stakes as they move along. So like, you can make something coherent that's a martial arts tournament that I think would work really, really well. So. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I had to kind of wrap things up here, I'm not particularly excited for a second one. If I don't have to pay for it, I'll watch a sequel. I won't be going out to the theaters because we know this HBO Max exclusivity thing is wrapping up at the end of the year. So if this one manages to get a sequel, don't count on my ticket, Warner Brothers. But you know,
sign me up. I'm the other way. I'm going the other way. I think there is a place for B and C movies in the world, and to go see them in theaters without any expectations. Not everything I'm going to see is gold cinema or gold television, so I can go and watch this because, as a fan of the video games, I will go watch it. Now, I can go back and be like, oh, that was a dog shit movie by all means, but I'm like, I still want to go. I want to see the tournament. Give me the movie with the tournament. They tease Johnny Cage at the end of this, Mike. I mean,
that's what I was going to say. I think that's the only thing that could get me hyped if they just have a great casting for Johnny Cage. I think like maybe because he's a very kind of goofy, wacky character. You can't ground that character in realism. He's larger. He's larger than life. So maybe that'll hopefully help change the tone of the movie.
Well, and like you said, I think they tried to go too serious in this, but you know, the actor playing Kano is the other one who's like, he's having fun, right? He doesn't believe it. He's like, this is all bullshit.
He's the Captain Boomerang of this universe.
And it's not because he's Australian, but yes. But like Luke Cage could take that, like, okay, what do you mean I have to go fight, you know, otherworldly monsters in a tournament? That's bullshit kind of thing. Like, they could lighten the tone a little bit and have more fun with it. And then I think longer fights and more finishing moves other than just, you know, the standard fatalities. Let's get creative with some of these.
More see what gore. They do. Like if you're going to get that rated R rating for a Mortal Kombat movie, don't pull back. Like go NC-17 and then once you get that rating, go back to the editing room and keep going back frame by frame, like blood droplet by blood droplet until they give you that rated R rating, right? I want it as rated R as you can possibly get it.
Yeah. They did good with that Jax one. I felt kind of like a little like, oh, they lingered on that a little longer here.
When his arms were pulled off?
No. Whenever he smashed that dude's head and like it was just like the decapitated body sitting there, I'm like, they're lingering on this a little longer than they normally would. So they're getting what they can. I think I'm gonna go through these character lists real fast, Mike. Just and you tell me if you've heard of them. Okay. Because this is like I put these in a list. I'm like, he's gonna know this. So Raiden.
Yes.
Scorpion.
Yes.
Sub-Zero.
Yes.
Are you familiar? Do you know there's 2 Sub-Zeros in the games?
No.
Okay, so the original Sub-Zero, Bihan, he is killed and becomes a character called Noob Saibot, and his brother takes over the role of Sub-Zero later.
Okay. Well,
if you remember from Annihilation, he has a scar on his eye. They're like very differently. Sonya Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Jax.
Yep.
Liu Kang.
Yes.
Kung Lao.
This is where things start to get a little like I think Kung Lao is a relatively early character, but it's not one that I've internalized in my brain.
These are all in the movie.
Kung Lao is Hat Guy, right?
Hat Man, that is correct.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. You know Kano. Were you familiar with Cabal before this movie?
It sounds familiar, but I couldn't put a face with the name.
He's the one with the mask and the red eyes.
Oh, okay.
He's the one. Like he's the only one I think with personality. I think they had a different guy voicing him than acting him. He actually had a little bit of personality to him, but he's got the mask. He goes really fast, apparently. Melina.
Nope.
Okay, she's the one with the the smile, like the Joker smile teeth.
I've seen that character on the internet before because it's a very iconic design, and I think they put that forward in a lot of Mortal Kombat marketing. Yeah. So I was familiar with like, oh yeah, I think her mouth is going to open up all the way at some point in time.
Do you remember from the games Baraka? The guy with the blade.
Yes, I remember Braga. That guy was creepy.
So Melina is a clone of Princess Katana and a mixture of a Tarkatan, which is a Baraka character. So that's why she's like looks like a human but with the mouth.
all of this lore that when we get will never be explained.
We will never get this lore ever in the movies, but there you go. Because she died. She died straight up. Hole in her. Shang Tsung, of course.
Nope.
Your soul is mine. Goro. Yep.
Yeah, Goro in the original Mortal Kombat movie.
Yep. Nitara.
Nope.
She's the winged one who got the hat to the face. Yep. And then Rico.
No, I don't know who that is.
I'd explain it. We had he's the guy with the hammer, who was in there for all of 2 minutes
he
of fight
almost
scenes.
didn't even seem like a character. I thought he was just kind of like miscellaneous goon because he didn't really have much. He didn't really have much going on. I don't think he ever said a line either.
Yeah, I was like, they just used him to kill him because he was only been in 2 games ever as playable. I'm like they just wanted someone they could kill off. So in the next movie, knock on wood,
slap a red shirt on him.
they pretty much they could do that. So that was the main characters from this. I don't think I missed anybody, but I think I just want to give Gary, Indiana a shout out for making it into a Mortal Kombat movie.
I thought that was hilarious. I was like, really, Gary, Indiana? But it makes sense just because they were in Chicago, so I guess they just need another notable city to go to.
And she's like, I live in this shithole, kind of thing. I'm like, oh, that's Gary, isn't it? So there it is. All right, man. Well, that's our Mortal Kombat review. That's what we got for you guys. Hope you guys get out and watch it. Finish it, if you will. If you can't, let us know. There's a lot of great lines from Mortal Kombat, and did they even say finish him in this? If they did, it's forgettable.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing. Where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or Twitter, Valdan, Valdan. And if you have a Mortal Kombat game or character you love and you want to see or was in this movie and you liked, didn't like, let us know. I want to know what you guys thought of these characters and if you are of the, again, Mortal Kombat generation, because I believe a lot of our listeners, they have a favorite. Mike, do you have a favorite character from the games?
I think I was always a fan of the masked characters like the Scorpions or the Sub-Zeros.
Oh, there was a lizard guy in this one too.
Yeah, well, isn't Reptile another character? It's like a green. It's like a green color shaded character.
He was a color swap of Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Yeah, those were usually the ones that I enjoyed the most, just because they seemed the coolest to me when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think those are fun. I always I had Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the PC, and a character called Stryker was one of my favorites. He was some sort of police officer, but he had guns and grenades. I'm like, he's the only one with guns and grenades. Of course I'm going to use them. I can throw them at you and keep you away from me. So, like that. All right, Mike. People know about our regular show that we're about to go record right after this. We got tons of great news dropping this week. New stuff. Where can they find that at?
Oh, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the hub for the show. That is the best place to find all of our other reviews. This is not the only big thing that dropped this week. We're going to be talking about the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier on our news episode, so make sure you're subscribed, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. That's superheroslate.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. Like Chris said, what did you think about this film? Are you looking forward to a sequel? Do you think they could possibly even make 4 more movies out of this franchise? Does it have staying power? Let us know what you thought. We're here to listen. And we love you. We love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every single week, except for next week. It's going to be finals week for Superhero Slate, if you will. We were going to say spring break.
I'm still calling spring break. I'm not going to school.
I think we technically missed the window, so we made sure to get this review in here just before we went on a little vacation for ourselves. So, we love you.
We'll see you in our regular show.
All right, bye, everybody.
Get over here.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
I quit talking about food. What'd I tell you?